From what I saw last year. I'm sorry, Russell, you go ahead.
It's okay. It's funny you ask that question. You think about the era we are in right now. Isn't it interesting that an offensive player is considered intimidating?
I was actually thinking quarterbacks are this era's intimidators because they dictate pace and kind of control the ball mainly. That's what I thought of right away when you start talking intimidation in the modern era.
Yeah, listen, Tom Brady's, he's shown enormous potential throughout his career, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'd say he has the hardware now.
So, yeah.
Well, no, but he's one of those guys. He's like, to me, you go back to the 70s with Roger Staubach and Ken Stabler, more modern John Elway. You better make sure that clock says 0:00 before you know that game is over.
Yeah, I'd say that every time I don't even care who's playing, is the Patriots are come on the field and I see 10 seconds on there and they're on the 10-yard line, try to go 90 yards. I don't believe it's over, especially after that 28-3 Super Bowl. I'd never count them out.
Yeah, I think you guys bring up a good point. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what it is now. It's the quarterback is the intimidator, but Julie and I have talked about Quentin Nelson, and he changed the entire mindset of that team, especially offensively, and the offensive line, which I don't have to remind any of you what a mess that has been for a number of years. They really didn't do a good job of building things up. I think it's one of the reasons that Andrew Luck took the beating that he did early in his career. They didn't stress the running game. Now they're a more balanced football team with Frank Reich. Frank Reich, offensive coordinator of the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl in 2017. Their season was with two different quarterbacks. Their season was also with a very, very deep offensive line that you would make the case, probably spearheaded that championship year.
Well, since you bring up offenses and quarterbacks and all that, we actually are going to debut, since we have the two of you together, a new segment called The Final Drive. The rules are as follows. I am going to ask you questions. Each of you will get 45 seconds to respond, and if you don't do it in time, I'm giving you the whistle, and we're moving on to the next person. And we're going to do this until we got about 12 minutes left. So you guys ready?
Yeah, do we get timeouts or do we get to call a friend?
No timeouts and no calling a friend. There's no lifelines.
Gotcha.
All righty, let's do it.
Up the middle, they pick it up. Rogers looks, lofts, left side, got a man out there. Devontae Adams down the left sideline for 50, cutting right to the foot.
Okay, Wing Martindale.
35, 30, 25, and down he goes. Inside the 25. At the Chicago 20. 10 from the Chicago 12. Snaps to Rogers under a blitz. Rogers tight pocket.
It's the final drive.
Inside the 10, head fake, cut left to the 5, reaches.
All right, here we go, guys. First question. You're commissioner for a day. What rule are you making? And you only can make one rule. And this also includes taking away a rule that's already made. We will start, because we're all gentlemen, with the lady, Miss Julie Voigt.
Well, I know not a lot of people enjoy, penalties being reviewed, and sometimes they wonder, hey, why review this or let's review that. I'm really a big believer that these things need to be reviewed. For instance, I know I always go back to this. It just stuck in my head for so long, the Saints versus Cowboys. How many times did we see helmet to helmet and nothing was called? It pretty much costed the Saints the game. So come on. I mean, I would really love those type of things to be reviewed. And it could possibly take it. And let's just continue with that.
Let's go back to sudden death overtime. Okay. Regular season overtime began in 1974, game between the Broncos and the Steelers. Everybody thought that would solve the tie problem. They wound up tying after overtime. The more you tweak things, the more convoluted it gets. 2009, Brett Favre didn't get the ball in overtime, so let's tweak the overtime rules. Tweak. It just doesn't work. Let's go back to sudden death in the regular season. Let's go back to sudden death in the postseason. Let the chips fall where they may, but, this team deserves to get the ball. That team deserves to get the ball. We need to get the ball.
My man.
Don't worry, I'm not doing overtime.
4, 3, 2, 1. Dave, you're up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, am I asking the question? Oh, I thought you were telling me to ask one. I'm like, whoa.
Dave is asking. You're part of the round table. You're representing F&G here, man. Come on. You're dropping the ball.
Can I answer my own question? No, go ahead, Jay.
No. Moving on. You lose. We're down now.
Really?
Okay. Guys, we are going to go to Russell. Expectations for Aaron Rodgers' 2019 season.
Hopefully he can remain healthy. The thing that still boggles the mind to me about Aaron Rodgers is his ability to avoid mistakes, especially when it comes to interceptions. He's thrown well over 300 touchdown passes. I think he's now at 80 career picks. Okay, that's ridiculous. The stretch of he's been a starter since 2008. Missed some time lately. I think it was a transition year for them. To me, the key will be making that running game work and being semi-committed to it, or actually more committed to it than they have. What team had the fewest running plays in the league last year? The Green Bay Packers.
Julie Voigt, what are Aaron Rodgers' expectations for 2019 season?
I really think that he could make a good comeback coming this season because he's going to have a few more weapons to come at you. I just love, and I've always said this, I've compared him so many times with other young quarterbacks. I just love his hustle when the pressure is on him. And I think when the pressure is on him, he performs well. I think as long as he has these key players and as long as, like Mr. Baxter said, if he stays healthy, I believe he can have a big turnaround season. Hopefully they can take charge of the NFC. But let's see something like that happen.
Dave, same question. Do you remember it? Expectations for Aaron Rodgers in 2018 season.
Dave, you can reply extra 2 seconds.
No, I do expect Aaron to try to take a jump with this new scheme, and LaFleur and him are working together really well. I just feel that Rodgers is going to be to the same old Rodgers we saw 3 years ago. I think he's going to be coming out. I think he's going to be slinging out dump passes to the left, to the right, big chunk plays. It's very QB friendly, especially for an older QB, and the run game is going to work for him. I do think there may be a few bumps in the road, but I think at the end, Rodgers is going to be back to his numbers that we saw a couple of years ago.
Okay. Julie, who wins the NFC North and why?
You know what? I have a confession to make. I know a lot of people, and of course I did retweet this article that the Bears were number 3, the best team. And I don't see that. There's some reason that I just do not see that. I don't trust Mitch Trubisky. The Lions, the same thing. I'm kind of shaky when it comes to Matt Stafford and all that. Vikings, they can go either way. As much as I really, really want to pull, I want to pull for the Packers. Why? Again, I see Aaron Rodgers coming out this season, hopefully under new command. Again, new faces, new tools that he can go ahead and throw to. The Bears, There's nothing against them. I know everyone wants to go towards them, but I can't trust Mitch Trubisky. I just can't.
Ooh, good. Right in time. All right, Russell, same question.
Yeah, I get the same question, but it's going to be a much different answer because, unfortunately for you guys, I don't do predictions and shit. But I will say this.
Oh,
I
man.
like what the Panthers did. Well, yeah, I think there's this odd thing of actually watching the guys on the field before you actually make a pick. So I'm kind of weird that way. So,
that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. But I will say this. Green Bay broke the mold of what they've done the last couple of years in free agency. And they actually spent some pretty good money in free agency. Okay? Ladarius Smith, Adrian Amos, Preston Smith. The defense has to get better. They've tried to fix it with youth and tried to fix it in the secondary for the most part. Okay? And that's not saying they have that. Listen, they drafted some really promising defensive backs, but the front seven needed to be addressed. That also being said, they need to commit to the running game to keep that defense off the field. Okay? It's what Chicago was able to do, although they're going to be different this year. Okay? It's a very transition-y year for the NFC North. I mean, the Bears came somewhat nowhere last year. They became one of those last-place teams to win the division. So I think the Packers can rebound, but I'm not going to commit yet.
Russell finishes right on time. Okay. Dave, do you want to answer that question?
Sure. You're probably not going to expect what you think I'm going to say. I think that, God, I hate to say this. I think the Vikings are going to surprise some people. I think the defense is still together. I think with Thielen and Diggs, they look really good. Dalvin Cook showed the last 8 games what he can do, and I think they're going to carry the momentum. I think the Packers make the playoffs, but as a wild card. But I think the Vikings edge them out by 1 game.
Traitor. Okay, we're moving on. Dave just broke my heart. I'm about to cry in studio down here. Okay.
I just have a feeling, man. Leave me alone.
Russell, this one you can skew any way you want it since you don't do predictions, but top performers for 2019 offense and defense.
Well, I mean, Saquon Barkley, who I think one of the best young talents to come in the league in a couple of years in terms of running back. Total package in terms of a football player. I expect Ezekiel Elliott to have another big year for the Cowboys. I'll be fascinated to see Le'Veon Bell with the Jets, more so the fact of how does a year away from football, not hurt, just a year away from football, affect him. For the sake of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, you don't want to throw 50 touchdown passes. The Super Bowl history isn't kind to you. We went over that on the last show. Are you looking for who's going to have the most touchdowns, who's going to have the most this, and so on? I mean, I think the usual suspects that we saw last year.
Hey, the
Rams
works for us.
Yeah, I mean, as far as but the guy, I was big on Saquon Barkley coming out. Obviously, so was Dave Gettleman with the 2nd overall pick. He led the league in total yards from scrimmage. He also caught 91 passes. He was a safety valve. I don't think he'll catch as many passes this year because I don't think he'll need to. But I think he could wind up. I wouldn't be surprised if he won the rushing title.
All right, guys. We really thank you two for coming in. What do you guys got going on in the next week or so? Real quick, you got about 20 seconds. Plug yourself.
Well, we have another show coming up, and all I'll say is it's not a reality show, guys. It's a fantasy show. We'll leave it at that. Within the next couple of days, we'll do part 3 of our series. the most intriguing players of each division.